I got a good dad joke for the day.
You're going to start us with a dad joke today instead of ending with a dad?
For the cold open.
This is the beginning. Okay.
This is okay.
No,
Let's try.
All right.
Format switch here, listener.
Let's hear it.
How much room is needed for fungi to grow?
Boy, you tell me.
As much room as possible.
Welcome
to
Welcome to SmartLess.
SmartLess.
Yeah, Sean, you have any opening bits?
I do have something to share. What happened today?
Consult your sheet.
I have no sheets.
Really?
I have no sheets.
You give no sheet?
I give no sheet.
I don't give no sheet.
But first of all, Jason, you are, I can't wait for you to come visit, but you are so lucky, Jason. Today in London and tomorrow, it's like
The hottest.
No exaggeration, like 100 degrees.
Right.
It's
And then the day I
and then they get there, it's 72.
I literally just looked at that on the way to this
You're
podcast.
so lucky. It's
Now, how
brutal.
many days are you guys are you spending over there with Sean in London?
Sean?
Just three.
Just three.
I love that Jason doesn't even know.
I know.
I don't. I go where I'm fucking told. In fact, I'm waiting for my wife to help give me notes on packing. Yeah, you know.
Does she make you a list of what you should pack like you're 10?
Well, she tries, but her big move always is to just kind of walk up behind me while I'm starting to pack and say pleasantly, "Hey, would you like some help?" And I say, "No, I'm set, thank you, I got it." And then she'll just stand there and she'll watch me. I say, "I don't need any help." No, I know, I'm just checking. And then she'll just start to like lob, quote, suggestions. And so she ends up packing and controlling.
What is she worried about, do you think? Is she worried that you're not going to have the right thing for the right sitch?
I don't think she's ever worried about anything. I think just her happy place is having just kind of like a hand on all
Sorry,
things.
hand on things. Sorry.
Yeah. You both know this better than I do. She talks to both of you more than she talks to me.
That's true. That's true.
So,
this is true.
I actually know more about your trip than you do.
Yes. So tell me, when am I leaving?
I don't know. I know you're leaving
tomorrow?
No, tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. How do you feel about it, Jason? Do you get excited about traveling? Or
No,
are you like, ugh?
I can't stand it. I don't understand the concept of leaving the nest that you have deliberately created with all your favorite things to the extent you can get them right around you and in the right spot.
I'm super excited to see you too. Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean, but like the concept of leaving a place that you're comfortable to go to a place that's completely foreign to you. I get the whole cultural reach and
well, because there's
expose
nothing to
yourself
do here.
other things. But
I mean, there's tons of stuff to do here. No, there's tons of stuff to do in London, but not in this house.
This is what should feed your brain and feed your soul and go to different places and see different things from. Look, I don't want to get into it, but it's kind of the problem with America a little bit.
Listen, East Hampton, tell us about what fucking.
I go to Sag Harbor. I was there this morning.
Can I do? Were you really?
I rode my bike to the hardware store. I fixed
Wait, you
my
rode
bike.
your bike from East Hampton to Sag Harbor?
No, I did not. I didn't do that. It was too hot.
That sounds
it was
fun,
too hot.
though.
But I felt very chory today. Like I rode my bike into town. I talked to some police officers, said hi to them. They were dealing with an issue. Apparently, there was a dog issue. Not kidding.
Was a dog stuck in a tree?
No, like somebody complaining that somebody else had left their dog outside, but it was in a sunny area and was mad and called the East Hampton police. And then
There's
they had
not
an
proper
argument.
shade for this animal.
Yeah. And these cops were so diplomatic about it because they're just like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? So they were nice about it.
What would that be like getting no shade, pun intended, being thrown on Hampton cops. But when you decide you want to be a police officer, what is that? Like, do you say, "Well, I want to be a police officer in the Hamptons" because you love the town, or because you just don't want the heat, you don't want the nonsense, you don't want a lot of crime?
I think a lot of them a lot of the officers I've talked to are local, like grew up here. And I got to say, honestly, to a person, every one of them that I've ever talked to and met has been super, super nice. And
well, that's not shocking.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they've been
Yeah,
really,
it's a
really
great
nice. And
place.
and that's kind of the consensus. They're super responsive. And imagine the personalities they have to deal with out here. Just imagine.
And they're trying to nab those little girls running lemonade stands that are skimming, right? They got to watch out for them. Like what's their beat?
Skimming.
Their beat is they do everything. You know, they deal with a lot of. Unfortunately, there are a lot of issues that happen here. People come on vacation here, so a lot of people feel like no rules. A lot of people drink and drive, which is a terrible thing. Mm-hmm. It's my worst. Honestly, if not to get too dark, but the thing I like, the sound I like the least is the sound of obviously an ambulance at night, and you'll hear it late at night because especially if it was somewhere way down the way at the end of the island, and that that there's been some terrible accident. You read about it in the local paper the next day, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking.
That's terrible.
Absolutely heartbreaking. It breaks my heart. So
it's such a small town, everybody knows everything.
Yeah, and but also just like because people feel like, oh well, I'm just gonna have 4 glasses of wine and get behind the wheel of my fucking Rolls or whatever, and it's sad. It's really, really sad. But also,
has there been festivities for the Big Jaws anniversary out there? Isn't that where they supposedly shot the film?
No, that was Martha's Vineyard, though. Well, that's close, though, right?
Right.
But I did see a couple days ago a whale breach about 100 yards off the beach. It was unbelievable.
Wait, does that mean jump up and slam down to a belly flop?
Yeah, a massive, like just.
Are you sure that wasn't fill in the blank joke here?
Yeah, what fat person you want to take a run at, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, who?
Go ahead. You can fill in the blank.
God bless, no. Oh, God. But I did have something.
Sean, you talk about breaching every time you have Sloppy Joe, don't you? You're always like, when you're making a run for it.
Yeah, I sure do.
We gotta breach!
Wait, but I do have a really quick medical thing happen. Or do you want me to wait till later?
No, give us some of your coffee chat stuff.
So today, because I'm not feeling well, and so I woke up with a sore throat, whatever. But so I went to the doctor.
Maybe there's something wrong with your CPAP.
No, I didn't bring it.
What?
I didn't bring my
What?
CPAP.
Truly?
I know. Truly.
Wait, I don't understand. Hold on a second. Don't you?
Because I'm going to sleep on my side, or I sleep up now. I don't want to. I can't deal with it.
And what do you do? Just get like duct taped into position?
Hey, but wait! I've seen a commercial for a guy. He's in a
Let's
CPAP.
lock him up.
It's downtime. There's a guy that's in like a circle, like a support group for CPAP dudes, and they're all wearing different flavors of CPAPs, and they come
What are
to
you talking
him,
about?
and he's just got a clicker. He's got
What
a
are you talking
clicker.
about?
Is yours flavored?
He's just got a clicker in his hand, and he doesn't have to wear the hose. And so, what is that? Have you looked into that?
No, I'm not. I have no idea what you just said.
Dude, looks pretty great, and you can avoid the duct tape.
Anyway,
I like the
whatever.
idea, Sean, that you have it flavored, like a watermelon flavor. You know what I mean? Just like a little mist.
That would make it better.
Anyway,
you can hear how low
so
my voice is.
So you're sick.
Well,
you're not-
so I go to this doctor at this place, and that was recommended. She was fantastic, and so I go in, and it must be an English thing. I go in, she's like, "Okay, take your clothes off," and Scotty's sitting there with me, and I was like, "Sorry," and she goes, "Well, I got to check you out," and I was like,
wait, sorry.
"You want to just take my shirt off?"
This is for CPAPing.
No, this is just I have a sore throat.
Sore throat.
This is just like she just wanted to check me out.
Sore throat after one night. You go to the doctor.
Well, because they're going to go in the other way to make sure that it's not that it hasn't gone. They got to make sure both ends are.
Does this person have an office, or is it something with wheels?
This is in the park. Sorry, one more time.
Carry on.
It's next to the ice cream truck. So I go in there, and she needed to check me out because I'm a new patient, right, in England, right? And she was great.
Sure.
So I go in there. She asked me I go, "You want me to take my shirt off?" She's like, "Yeah." And I go, "My pants too?" She goes, "Yeah." So I was like, "This is so weird." And so I lay down flat.
Luckily, it's just a drawstring at all times. So keep going.
So I lay down,
Yep.
and she's she's the tap on the thing and the tap on the chest and everything. She's checking my thing, and then
She's fully clothed right now, right?
She's totally fully
Yeah.
clothed.
Okay.
She lifts up my underwear and just goes, "All right, I just need to check out testicles." And she grabs my balls, and I was
Wait,
like,
under your underwear. She doesn't.
"Yes." She grabs them with her bare hands, and I was like,
Wow.
"What?"
Was she
And
able to see through the dust?
Did she snap a glove on at least?
I don't remember. I think she had gloves
Sure.
on.
You went into a blackout.
Yeah, I did. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't
And
believe
so,
it.
what was the prognosis?
No,
Straight.
everything's fine. I'm on antibiotics.
Oh, Scotty, heartbroken.
I'm straight. Yeah, that's the prognosis.
So just a sore throat, you'll be fine?
Yeah, I'm on antibiotics now.
I mean,
Wow.
okay.
What did you have to feel my balls?
Good story.
For? Anyway, go ahead. I just thought that was really odd. Like I've never had a
Hey,
doctor
Jay,
do
listen,
that.
you got something to look forward to tomorrow night. You're going to get a sore throat when you get to London.
I'll be doctor. I'll play the doctor.
Yeah, did you get?
Oh, you know the drill now, so don't be surprised.
Yeah, did you get like a bulk visit type of thing? Is there a punch card that I can use one of those?
Sure,
one of your
yeah.
free visits?
Yeah, I'm actually going tomorrow again.
All right. Guys, today our guest.
Oh, it's
Here
Jason's
we go.
guest.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Today our guest is an actor, a comedian, a radio host, and a pioneer in podcasting. In fact, without him, we wouldn't be here. Having released over 1,600 episodes, 600 million downloads
Marc
during
Maron.
a 16-year run, he has decided to put
Marc
it to
Maron.
rest and move it on to the next.
WTF.
Here to tell us how he did it and hopefully how we can suck a little bit less is the GOAT himself, Mr. Will.
Marc Maron.
Marc Maron.
Please, Mark, reveal yourself. So we didn't need to send you a microphone, is that
When
right?
you said we wouldn't be here without, I was like, it's Marc Maron.
Yeah,
Is this
it's not
true?
Dax Shepard, although
No.
we appreciate.
You mean Dax Shepard Maron?
Yeah.
Wait, you're the dad? We found him.
On
Yeah.
some level, I'm the dad, yeah.
Yeah. You are the dad
Mark.
and the goat.
Yes, yeah.
This is awesome. This is
I did.
real
I'm
awesome.
using my own microphone, but thank you for sending me the one I'll never use. I
Did we
appreciate
really
that.
send you one?
Yeah, they sent me when they were panicked, I guess. They were like, no. Mark doesn't seem to know what he's doing.
Well, they heard you were done with your podcast, so they sent
Yeah,
another.
so they sent me one of these,
Of all
which I'll
people.
gift to
Yeah.
another
Hey,
podcaster.
Bennett, Rob, turn your mics on. What are
Over
you
here.
doing? Why are you sending a
Why did
microphone
you send one to
Marc
Marc Maron?
We were
the matter
given
with-
misinformation.
It's like sending a hockey stick to Wayne Gretzky. Like, what are you doing?
When I got it, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? What am I going to... I guess I'll use this.
You know what it is? It's our start gift.
I appreciate it. I was surprised. We used to send them out during COVID, but we weren't as generous. We'd put them in a self, you could send it back
Return.
to us when you were done using it.
Sure. Well, we're just silly over here.
Well, no, it's been great. I was listening to the opening. It's, exploring the dark side of luxury problems.
Oh, yeah. Super relatable.
That's what we are. Yeah.
We try to stay as unrelatable as possible, and I think we're doing swimmingly.
Exciting medical story. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It reminded me
So
of
many.
like when I was coming up as a comic, you always had to do morning radio. And you'd be sitting there, waiting for a break before you'd go in with this morning crew, just figuring out a way in, hearing what they're talking about
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
panicking. Like, I got a story on that. I'm going to start with that.
Right. That is the thing that I worry about with this silly thing, whatever we're fucking doing, is that
No,
it's
you're doing
too.
good.
But it's like morning zoo or whatever, like whack. Even when we get into the questions and the stuff, like I don't want to be like a guy who's like obnoxious and always just waiting for
that
an answer
ship
that
has
I can
sailed.
make fun
Yeah,
of.
that
man.
ship has sailed.
Right.
Sorry, buddy.
It's supposed to be a conversation, not
Well,
a
no,
fucking
but-
morning
but-
zoo.
I
We
think
can't
that's
help
what
it.
the medium has sort of birthed.
I
Just
know.
100,000 mediocre afternoon drive time radio hosts. I mean,
Right. It's
Yeah.
true.
anytime I scroll on my phone on Instagram Reels, it's like 3 or 4 white guys talking about the last time they shit their pants as adults.
Yeah.
That's us.
I'll listen to that. I'll listen to that.
Mark, talk to
So
us.
true.
I know.
So true.
In fact, I think I've told that story. Maybe it's either on yours or on Dax's. But wait, talk to us about that. Like, can you reflect? And we'll probably ask you a few times during this about that. Like, what you started is obviously it's an enormous business and path to employment for a lot of folks nowadays. So we collectively can thank you for that. But how do you feel that are you proud of this sort of industry that you've kind
Or is
of
there blood on
created?
your hands?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think. Well, it's once you create the bomb, you kind of wash your hands of it. Like,
Yeah.
You're Oppenheimer, man. You're Robert Oppenheimer. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But it's morphed away from something that was really, this 1 hour conversation or longer. That I mean, obviously Rogan still does that. Dax does it, but it's
they do like
it's,
3 hours. Jesus,
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
who's
hard
watching
to-
that shit. But
it's hard to do that really well.
Well,
And of course, Howard.
I don't think that there was a single way to do this. The only thing that I know in terms of starting it the way I did it specifically the only way really I knew how, and the way that my emotions guided me to do it. And when we started it, there was no real podcast medium. There was a few of them around. It had been around a while. And the way I did it, the way it evolved, was just my style and kind of this idea of candid, authentic, vulnerable interviews.
Yeah.
I think it created a zone through which some people could do that. But I mean, it got more interesting when people were doing, full-scale radio shows or crime shows or multi-mic'd, guys. It was never, there was never a format other than a mic. So because I did it the way I did it, even when you guys, or at least two of you, sorry, Sean, I'm sorry.
Just pile on.
But, when people were coming to my house, it was like, where am I? What neighborhood is this? What are we doing? Is there a camera? And it was really, there was nothing binding me to any sort of style or context. But I think because of the reason my timing was good cosmically for once in my life, that it took off. So this was one way to do it. And I think if anything, my particular way of doing it made a lot of people think, like if that idiot can do it, I'm getting mics. So there was that.
But also you have to. Well, first of all, you brought up. I mean, you're a comic and you've been a comic for a long time. And you've been doing it, at the highest level for a long time. So you know what you're doing. You're a funny dude, and you have to be able to move it along. We're lucky it took three of us to do what you did by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I
guess, but the one thing that I was excited about was I wasn't beholden to that. I'd done some time on radio, and once I learned how to talk on a mic by myself for long periods of time, that was a pretty big breakthrough. So that kind of served me in the podcast realm. But a lot of my monologues are not really funny. They're pretty honest, and they're pretty visceral, and they are directly related to my life, and it gets deeper and sometimes than others. But I wasn't beholden to comedy. So what it really became was engaging with a person without a real plan to see if we could get a conversation going and figure out where we met in terms of our issues, our problems, our lives, and whatnot. So what I was really sort of hoping for was connection. And that's really what I think made what I do kind of different.
Yeah.
That there is no sense.
But you did
of
so many firsts. I remember a couple of things that stick out that I remember. I remember hearing, before I listened to, hearing that you got Obama on was really huge. I remember everybody was freaking out about it. Like that was the first time somebody had done something like that, gotten a president to come on the thing. And then you did the live shows too, of which I did one of them actually in Brooklyn at the Bell as well. And in addition to the going to your house. And that was like, I was like, I remember you getting the call saying like, Mark's doing this thing at the Bell, and it's live in the pie. I was like, what could that be?
Well, it was different.
And it was different. It was cool. I was like, oh, okay.
But the reason for that really was, Obama was later, but the live ones, there was no way to make money doing this, at the beginning. There was literally no way. I mean, advertisers weren't forthcoming. We were using kind of old terrestrial radio middlemen to get like sex toy ads and Audible. Right. Our first ads were like Adam and Eve. You'd get a free package of God knows what. And we had this other advertiser from an older show we did, Just Coffee. But there was no way to generate income. And unless you wanted to sort of do a, pay to listen kind of thing, but then you wouldn't build an audience. So the live shows were things we did separately, and we created a different website so people would pay for them. There's no way to make money. So the live shows were kind of an income generating thing. I mean, at the beginning of this thing, at my old house, we were just doing a tiered donation thing. This was before, what's that platform where everyone, you get paid on?
GoFundMe or
not GoFundMe. The other one where you have a site where people can pay, whatever. Everyone has them.
Patreon, OnlyFans?
Yeah, Patreon. So there was no Patreon.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, we just offered tiered donations. And if you gave a certain amount of money, I'd send you a T-shirt and some stickers. And my house was filled with 1,000 envelopes, stuffing T-shirts, because there's no way to make money.
Oh my God, I remember that.
I
remember your assistant there working at a table just fucking stuffing envelopes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wow.
It was crazy. But the Obama thing, that was a whole other thing. But I think
that was crazy.
In terms of the medium, that kind of put it on the map.
Yes.
It kind of validated.
And how did that come about?
Legitimized it.
And that was a result of your numbers being such that his team took notice of you and recommended to him that this might be a good spot for him to hit?
I don't know if it was numbers per se as much as it was profile, and I think that really it came down to then that there was a fan in the Oval Office. I mean, an intern. I don't know who it was.
Got it.
Right.
But they thought it would be good. It was his last year, second term. You know, he didn't want to be a lame duck, I don't think, and he thought it would be, or someone in his world thought it would be a good look to kind of do this. And I remember when my producer Brendan McDonald was like, Obama wants to come on. And I'm like, so what? I'm going to the White House, and he said, no, he's coming to Highland Park. I'm like, that's fucking crazy.
Dude, walk us through that process. I always wanted to know that, like this, because we had the opportunity of doing it with Biden.
Yeah.
But what was that like? But we went to him and we went through all the
Right.
protocols and stuff.
Sure.
What was that like? Them coming to your neighborhood, to your house, with the
Completely
president?
unsecured.
It was crazy. Well, at first, I had a trip planned, and I rarely take vacations. So I told my producer, I'm like, I don't know, I'm supposed to go to Hawaii. He goes, no, you're not going anywhere. So, well, the thing was, the first things we had to think about was the way we do the show, which is not a political show. I mean, I can do that, but we had both of us had come out of Air America, and from the beginning of the podcast, we were like, we're not doing a political show because I don't want to carry that water. You can't really do politics with your own voice because you'll eventually end up just carrying whatever load it is of talking points for whatever party you're affiliated with. But
Right.
But the thing was, we got to make it a personal interview. He did go to college down the street, at least for a couple of years. He knows the neighborhood, and we had to really structure it more than we do.
Which college did
down,
he go to around Highland Park?
Yeah, at Occidental.
Oh, right.
So we had to.
So not on purpose.
No, we had to structure it in a way.
That was for Sean. Occidental.
Sean loves that stuff.
Sorry,
my
sorry,
alley.
Mark. Low-hanging fruit is still fruit for me. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
You can throw the baby
Okay.
some candy every once in a while.
We'll be right back.
And now back to the show.
So they come 2 weeks before and they strip search you
Well,
every
here's
hour?
what happened. So I end up going to Hawaii and reading his book. And in the meantime, Brendan, who is in Brooklyn generally, flew out to meet the Secret Service to create a perimeter. And so you get all these Secret Service guys at the house, and apparently, Brendan was in the garage, and he had a couple of guys on the roof jumping on it to figure out whether they could, post guys up there. And Brendan was like, "No, it's coming down."
Wow.
So
Wow.
I had to ask my retired neighbor if we could put snipers on his roof, and it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to him. He was thrilled to be involved. But the sort of the day of the one thing that was scary is they'd put some sort of weird humming black box in the one spare bedroom.
Yes.
That was a small house, if you remember. It was like less than 1,000 square feet.
Do
With
you remember
one
the black?
toilet.
I remember the black box too, guys. Remember when we tried to put
What are
our
you
coffee on
talking
it?
about?
I don't
And
remember.
they said, "Don't
I don't
touch
remember.
that thing."
Why?
Then
Why?
Rob,
What is it?
remember when we were at the,
What is
What
it?
it is, it's like if all communications break down, that thing has a line into some sort of, secret satellite network. Right.
Oh, I see. Wow.
So they got to put that in, and that was kind of the most menacing thing. And I remember, the day of. Wow. So the day of, there was like at least 15, Secret Service people, and then we'd set up tables on the deck there. It was my biggest fear was that house had one toilet, and I'm like, where's he going to go to the bathroom? What if someone needs to go to the bathroom? I got to clean the whatever. So we set up a table with listening stations for the White House people, for Brendan, for whoever else needed them. So there was like 4 or 5 sets of headphones out there. And the amazing thing about Obama that there was no pre-interview. We didn't have to get any approval of any questions. He was completely confident and lucid, and he knew what he was getting into. But the funny thing is that the Secret Service is coming in with the dogs, and I got these cats, and I'm like, hey, is there any way you can skip the house? I got cats. I'm going to put them in the bedroom, but you trust me enough to leave the cats in the bedroom? Now, they said yes, and they let me off the hook, but I don't know if that's going to get them in trouble, but I think they're probably out of the game anyways. But anyway... So we're waiting now. We're all in a waiting position. My producer, he wore a sports jacket. He's very proper dude. Yeah, and all the Secret Service is there, and I'm waiting on outside. And I say, how are we going to know they're coming? And we'll give you a heads up when he's 20 minutes out. So what he was doing, he was flying from Beverly Hills in the Air Force 2 or whatever, the helicopter, to the Rose Bowl to park there, which is about 10 minutes from my house. So they're like, well, that's better than stopping traffic in the entire fucking city of LA.
Right.
Yeah.
So they said
to
they'll
go to
tell me-
Mark's garage.
Yeah, exactly. They cleared the street of all cars. And some neighbors were pissed. A couple,
Sure.
the Republicans were pissed, but
Yeah.
the rational people were like, "This is great. They're going to line the streets." So they said 20 minutes out, we'll tell you. But then all of a sudden, we see the helicopter. There's two Ospreys that kind of fly in front of the helicopter, and we could see him in the sky. I'm like, all right, well, he's close. So I'm just waiting at the gate, and the motorcade pulls up, and there's this flurry of people coming up my driveway. I don't even see Obama, and then I see him, and he's in the middle of this crowd. He waves like, "Mark." And I'm like, "Mr. President," and he walks up and he's like, "Are we gonna have a good time?" I'm like, "I don't know." But then, we go into the garage. They only had one Secret Service guy, at the door behind me. They had some sort of flak mat. That was another weird item that they actually left, and I had to get back to them. That kind of like if there's an attack or something, it kind of pops up and protects him.
Wow.
But it was all, it was intense, and I just we had to cover some politics up front because there were things unfolding, but then it was a fairly standard WTF interview. And the funniest part about it was when he sat down, I said, "So you nervous?" And he said, something like, if I was nervous about this, we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah. He was pretty forthcoming, though, yeah?
Yeah.
Forthcoming enough. He's a genuine person. What he was very, very disarming and very candid seeming and willing and thoughtful. But what's interesting is that it was better to do a personal interview with him because he is kind of wonky. And if you get into politics, it can get a little long. And we only had an hour.
Yeah.
So we were able to kind of do it. And then for some reason he chose, I'm sure very deliberately, to say the N-word on my show. And that
Really?
In relation to, he was like, racism isn't over just because you can't say the N-word. And he said it. So that got, a flurry of international news. So I had to deal with, news crews in front of my house. But
there aren't enough T-shirts and stickers to handle that.
Yeah.
No.
But my producer was very calculating in terms of the press we did. He's a very smart guy. We didn't engage with any of them. We just did Chris Hayes and we did Terry Gross, and that was it. And I don't hear from Obama at all. He's got my number, but I feel weird texting him.
But look, the fact that you were able to book him says a lot about the spirit and the content of your show. But your ability to get him to do a personal interview and to get him to be forthcoming really speaks to sort of, I think, what makes you so great at what you do. And are you comfortable trying to maybe kind of speak to that and maybe dissect that a little bit? Because, this 1 hour conversation, there needed to be at some point a confidence from you about me just freestyling and then having somebody sit down and me just kind of pop back and forth with them and have a conversation as opposed to being an investigative journalist needs to be compelling, and I need to assume that that's going to be entertaining. What made you think that your hot takes on things and your personal kind of the way in which you can drive a conversation would be something really compelling? Because it is.
Yeah,
and
what gave you the right
And
to think you could do this, Mark?
But when did that happen for you? Just because I know you've spoken in the past about whatever the right words would be about, your degrees of social comfort and what fuels your stand-up and your cynicism and stuff, which I share with you. Like a lot of that doesn't lend itself to being a conversationalist. Do you know what I mean?
I think how it evolved is that I am innately and almost immediately codependent with any personality that sits in front of me. So it's just by virtue of my upbringing. I don't know what, but there was the way it sort of started, and this is one of the reasons why we're winding it down, is that I'm kind of all in no matter what I do. My stand-up is provocative and personal, and sometimes a little cringy, and just my basic demeanor in terms of what I want to talk about and what I feel comfortable talking about and my need to connect with people is sort of ingrained in me, and I'm willing to volunteer a lot of myself. And I think that the conversations that in the beginning, I was literally having comedians over to apologize to them. So for being a dick or whatever I thought my issues were, or whether they were mad at me. So the style unfolded with me trying to get resolution and make amends and this and that. And also, I think the way I characterize it is generally the first 100 episodes were me having celebrities over to talk about my problems.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that became a way. It's very disarming when you offer yourself.
Yeah, when you pull your pants down, everybody feels kind of safe and like,
Yep.
okay, so I guess we're going to be honest.
I
and
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, when you pull your pants down, everybody feels safe.
Yeah.
And confident. Yeah.
But so that's how it sort of evolved, and it's a need for me because I don't like my preparation is just getting a broad view of who people are, what they've done, and it's evolved over time in terms of how I handle certain interviews.
Yeah.
If somebody has an amazing, if it's an older person with a large bulk of work, I'll forego the really personal stuff to really talk about the work. But
Sure.
it all gets mixed in.
Well, let me ask you: has it changed the way you? I'll ask all of you guys, and I don't know if I have an
You
answer.
can say all y'all.
All y'all. Has it changed? I'll speak for myself first. I think that doing this over the last 5 years, which is just kind of odd to me.
Right, but think about that. We've only done 300 episodes. He's done 1,600.
No, I know,
It's
I know.
amazing. It's
but
amazing.
for sure. But for us, for the last 5 years, certainly for me, I can only speak for myself, that it has changed a little bit the way that I talk to people. I don't just mean people out in the world like, hey, I'm a fan. I mean just like people in general. It has this has shaped a little bit. How I interact with people to a certain degree. It's not the driving, but it has become a big part of who I am now, having these conversations and talking in this way for whatever reason, for better or for worse.
Well, it's interesting because you guys, are all actors, and part of that craft, from what I understand, about 90% of it is being present and listening. So whether you were used to doing that in your real life or not, who knows? But I mean, it is a tool that you all have to be present and listen.
That's applicable to this.
Yeah, and it's a real thing that because we're all kind of self-centered guys, and you kind of you want to get your word in, you want to you're kind of half listening, but once you start to engage your empathy and your ability to shut the fuck up, you find that it is the foundation of connection. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that does change. I think that
I'm so afraid to talk now. Keep going.
No, you go.
No. I'm kidding.
No, you go.
But for me, it took a lot to do that. And some people still are sort of like, why don't you let the guest talk? And I'm like, because it's my show. So, and also, over years, you kind of, when someone's going into a public narrative. And some of those are deeper than you can imagine. There's ways that public people talk that, there's sometimes I know, like, well, I know this story has been told God knows how many times, but maybe my listeners, haven't heard it. But if it's something that I'm like, well, he's, or she's, kind of autopiloting here, I'll interrupt until I can get them off of that and get them into some other place.
Did you ever get that thing? Well, first of all, did you ever read comments to when you put stuff out on social, like to promote the show? Like
I try not to, but it's kind of addicting. I don't check the numbers. I don't know what when Twitter was, a viable thing, I would look at those and that would be upsetting. And it took me years to learn not to engage. I have an email.
I used to follow you on Twitter and you would sometimes engage and I would see the stuff that you would say.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. But would it change? Would it alter the way? Because I remember I haven't looked in forever.
Sure, it expanded my self-consciousness, which is just what you need.
Exactly.
You take in just random bullshit trolling and you're like, that guy kind of nailed it. I got to be aware of that.
Yeah. Well, we used to have that. Exactly. And I used to have that early days. It would be like, and people I'm sure still do it. They're like, I wish Arnett would shut the fuck up. Why is he talking or why is he interrupting? And I'm like, well, by the way,
only thing
turn
you
it
can
off.
remember.
Turn it off. And it's your show.
As opposed to honor Hawkwind 2's comments about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some guy with 4 followers in the UK. You're like, oh, geez, I got to reassess my whole life for some idiot sitting at a computer. Because
Exactly.
there is a sense for some reason, no matter how old you are, well, we're older, but you see one comment, on a social media platform, and some part of your brain goes, the entire internet thinks I suck.
Yeah,
and it's
right.
like one idiot.
Right.
But still, if it's a bad morning, you got to fight the urge.
Hey, so Mark, when you started WTF, you'd obviously had. I used to listen to you on Air America all the time, and you'd done a bunch of other things. What made you take us back to what the landscape was for the medium of podcasting? What made you think that there was even money there, that there was an avenue there? What was?
I'm not a money guy. For better or for worse, I ended up with some, but it's never been my driving motivation. My motivation with comedy and with this has always been like, I want to be seen and heard because I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
So, so
Right.
I am building a sense of self here, and I want you all to be involved. But at the beginning, Brendan and I, Air America collapsed. And, I got pushed out, to LA, and I did an evening show that no one listened to for a while, but then it just went away. And, like at the same time, I was going through kind of a miserable divorce. And there was a outreach from Air America. They're like, we want to pull you back in to do a streaming show. And this is before streaming. This is like 2007. No one knew what streaming was. Wow. So I'm like, fine. And I said, can you give me this amount of money so I can pay her off so I can, get my life back? So they gave me this money to pay her off. And then they gave me this job at Air America doing a streaming show with Sam Cedar that no one could really watch.
Sam Cedar.
Love Sam Cedar.
Yeah. And
I haven't seen him in so long anyway.
So it was me and Cedar doing this show that crapped out in a year, and we knew it would. And I was like devastated and heartbroken, so I was kind of useless. But we were at the studios at Air America, that version of it, which was a very kind of broken down version. And once our contract was up, they fired us, but we still had like 2 months on the contract. And being good liberals, they're like, well, you guys can use the offices, which is unheard of when you do a radio job. They usually like, don't let him near the mics, take away his card and get him out. But they didn't.
Didn't Janine Garofalo have a show on Air America as well?
Not then. No, that was the original one.
Okay,
but this was like, this was when they had like Montel Williams, and it was who's that other guy? Lionel, that weirdo. So, and we were just in this office doing a streaming show.
Yeah.
And so we're out of a job, and I said to Brendan, my producer, I said, look, man, there are these podcasts. There's a few of them. Corolla had moved his radio show into the podcast form, but it was really just a radio show. I think who was around? Jimmy Pardo.
Ricky was doing one like Gervais was like every once in a while.
He was around, but there was only about 5 that had any profile, really, 5 or 6. It was pre-Rogan.
And you could only find it on the Apple iPod itself, which is where it gets its name, podcasting, right?
Well, that's the thing is that, Apple at that time, I said to Brendan,
I didn't know that either.
Can you figure out how to do this? And maybe we should do it. And at that time, Apple just wanted anybody with a name to do them, and they'd get behind you because it's not a platform as much as it is just like it's not a server.
It was part of the thing to like actually sell the hardware, the iPod itself. You could only get it on this new thing, this new device that they were launching.
That's right.
Wow.
So they kind of got behind us, and we were
That's the first thing I've ever learned from Jason.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Wow.
It's all about that, dude. Same with Apple TV. It's like that's just about getting people to get Apple TV ultimately.
Buy hardware, yeah.
Wow. So we started, kind of going in after hours. We had cards. We knew the night tech, and we were bringing guests up the freight elevator. And it wasn't really the same show at the beginning, but it was all just sort of, I needed to keep doing something. I thought my comedy career was nowhere. I certainly wasn't acting. And after I didn't know what to do with my life. So it was kind of a Hail Mary, but there was no way to make money.
It must have been scary. Was it a scary time, or were you kind of comfortable with your set in life?
Well, I knew that for whatever reason I was good on these mics because I knew that, and Brendan knew that as well. That there was a way. Who knows why anyone's going to be good on these?
Right.
But there was a way I kind of approached it that was very sort of immediate and honest and sort of searching.
Did it feel like your last shot? I guess is my
Sure.
question.
Yeah. I mean, like I used to make a joke about it that I when I moved out to LA and I set the mics up in the garage, I was like, this is the same garage I thought about killing myself in. But no, but I had no expectations. There was no money expectation. It was just me trying to do something. And then, through weird timing and just, trying to focus on building a social media presence, getting people who have that on the show. And then because the celebrity press had become kind of anemic, people were locking in because I was doing their job for them.
Right.
So Vulture was there.
What was the moment? What was the moment where you like looked at Brendan or looked at yourself and said, "Hey, we have something here.
We have some
You remember
traffic on social media. People are listening to the show."
Well, that was starting to happen, because Vulture picked up on it pretty early. And then I think when we had, when I went up to the Bay Area to interview Robin Williams, there was a couple of pretty big shows. I mean, and we had, fairly big people social media wise, but I think the Robin interview, because it had never been done before, before that or after. I mean, when he passed, a lot of people were using pieces of that interview because it was a rare thing and it was hard to get him. And he was very protected and very insulated in terms of, how we were going to do it. And ultimately, I ended up driving up there. I did a lot of those kind of interviews early on where I'd talk in the car on the way. But when I got up there, it was just him in his house and an assistant. And I think that people didn't realize if Robin was in front of more than two people, or two at least, it was going to be a show.
Yeah.
So when it was just one guy and also a comic and also a guy willing to connect and talk, it was a completely different sort of Robin experience. But if there were one other person there, it would have been wrong because he would have just started jumping around and improvising. So I think that one really was a big interview in terms of people.
Because people were hearing a quality from him that they were not used to. And,
never.
Yeah.
It was quite. It was pretty insane, man.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
All right, back to the show.
And Mark, now that you've done it for so long, and I mean, it's so impressive. I think Jason said 1,600 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's become part of your identity and all you've done all these years, and now you're wrapping it up. Talk about that. Like, are you going to miss it? Are you going to think like, well, who am I now and what do I do? And
I think so. It's a weird thing with the ego. In terms of the world we live in and, what anyone considers relevance or irrelevance. Or I was talking to Owen Wilson the other day about it because I'm on that show with him. And we were talking about stopping the podcast. And he quoted some Salinger quote that was like, I don't have the courage to be, just unknown. Or just an average person. But
that's interesting.
But I think like what's happening is, and the show has always really been about the arc of my life. On the base level, it's been about me and, and I talk to people. And I think at this point, because we put the amount of work we do, Brendan and I, it's just always been the two of us. And he's a very specific, very gifted audio producer. It takes a lot of time to put these shows together twice a week. And people, people don't know that. But, sometimes he'll spend like hours with an interview, kind of, finding a theme, trimming it, maybe moving things around. It's so funny how many people have listened to their interview and are like, God, I really nailed that thing. It's like, it took Brendan 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, we feel the same way about Robin Bennett and the guys Michael Terry who work with us. They do the same thing, and they're really good at it.
We got the best in the biz.
Let me answer that real quick, Will. Let me just answer Sean real quick.
Okay.
I apologize.
I'm known for interrupting, according
to
the,
me too.
The guy from England.
But the thing is like, I am nervous about the time, but but viewing it as a piece of work as opposed to content, and sort of really assessing the need to keep plowing along just because you can. Was sort of a conversation. We got a deal with a platform, Acast, and that we were in that for years, and it kind of made us, the money that I think we deserved after working on it so long. And now that's coming to an end. And we were talking before that about winding it down. And our agreement has always been like, well, I'm going to go as long as you go. Whoever cries uncle first, then we'll just honor that. But the truth is, there comes a point with me, because of the way I do it, where maybe I'd like to have a little bit of a private life. Maybe I'd like to not worry about which pieces and bits of my life or past I need to kind of bring up in order to satisfy what I do and the audience I've created.
That's interesting.
Who find a lot of comfort and a lot of I've helped a lot of people unknowingly, get sober, not commit suicide, deal with authoritarianism. There was. The way I do it, it was very comforting to a very specific audience. So there's part of me that thinks like, well, I owe them. And they kind of live in your head, and that gets a little emotionally exhausting. So I think that by viewing it as a amazing piece of work, of 16 years of a thing that never diminished in its quality and always had the arc of me and always was always interesting and engaging every episode, that to sort of say, we're done with this part of our lives, kind of is good for the legacy of the thing, as opposed to being one of those people where it's like, is Maron still doing it? That's crazy. You don't want to be that guy.
Right.
Right.
But do you, like, what I was going to say was, when you hear like an athlete retires and they say you're going to miss the game. And what's funny is they always say, I'm going to miss the guys. I'm going to miss being in the locker room. I'm going to miss the people that I were, I don't know anything about your relationship with Brendan, other than you've mentioned him a bunch, and he was obviously integral to your show. I mean, that relationship is now going to change. Have you guys talked about that, how that's going to shift?
Well, it's weird. I've been working with him since he was 24, and now he's 44.
Wow.
And, we met at Air America, and he was an associate producer. So, and the very odd thing about Brendan and I is that he's actually, part of my brain. Like, I do these interviews, and then I send them to him. And my memory of them is of whatever I remember that day, but he spends hours with all of them. So I rely on him to remember things. And also, he's a very brilliant guy, with politics and film. He's really the smartest guy I know. And he's a great producer because he helps me frame things that I'm thinking, which is usually intuitive, and then, he can give it depth. But over the years, it's always been a professional relationship. We're not really in each other's lives. He's more in mine because he hears me talk about it all the time. But we have, it's one of the only relationships where the boundaries are healthy. There's full respect there. We're 50-50 partners, and I don't lean on him for personal stuff unless it's really pressing. So, and we've never had a fight, since I've known him once. And it's just so that relationship, he'll be there for me if I need him, but he needs a break. But I just think, like, what you're saying is true, though. This show is it's a big part of my social life. It's a big part of my spiritual and soul life in terms of engaging with other humans who are creative humans and really talking about life, which I think is important to do in one's life. But I was doing it also as my job and outlet. I am going to miss that, and I imagine that I should really give a heads up to my two friends that it's going to be hard for them for a little while.
Do you feel that you're leaving Marc Maron in a better place than where you found him when you started?
Well, I hope so, because Marc Maron is going to be 62 years old in September, and I just did. It's weird, and I know you guys have got it. You guys seem to have probably a more expansive work ethic than I do, but I don't know. I just did a special, that's going to premiere on HBO August 1st, and it's really probably the best work I've done as a comic.
Oh, that's great.
I've done this thing for 16 years, and I'm very proud of that as a singular thing. And I wouldn't say I'm tired, but I'd like to see where I am without these responsibilities a little bit, or without them being pressing all the time. I don't know.
It is. It's an interesting thing. I mean, yeah, you mentioned that special on HBO, and you mentioned Stick with Owen, and and I love that film you were in that Justin Kurzel directed, The Order.
The Order,
Law. It was just incredible, and your career is.
Interesting.
It's not even ascendant. Ascendant doesn't sound. It doesn't sound as respectful as I mean it to be. But your things are great for you. So you probably there's a part of this while you're winding that down. It's almost because you might not even have time for it anymore, because like
Shifting.
yeah, and also it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, like you're kind of allowing yourself to be a little bit more in a healthy way selfish with your life, and you're saying, well, I don't want to lend my personal life out anymore and monetize it. I want to keep my power inside and kind of enjoy being me. And I don't know. It sounds like a really healthy place that you're at.
That's where I'm trying to get. I don't know if panic will sit in. I'm not great alone. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids.
You got cats, Mark.
Yeah, I got a few cats, and that's a whole other thing, dude. I don't know what I'm going to do with Charlie, but anyway, I got a real fuck of a cat. So, and the hard thing about cats is, like, at least kids grow up. The cats are like, they're just going to be that. And there's no teaching it new things or anything. But yeah, I think that's true, Jason. I think that is ultimately what is happening. And as you get older, you give less fucks about certain things. Yeah. And the acting and that kind of stuff. The way I see it is that I do okay. I've been able to do everything I wanted to do only because I did this one thing on my own that got me out in the world. Yeah. And I've somehow managed to remain kind of under the radar. I don't have the weight of celebrity on me. I'm kind of chipping away.
But you're on top of the radar with those that I would imagine, respect, admire. The audience you've actually been shooting for, you have. And that I think is really admirable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, I try not to, like, I kind of know exactly who I am and what my, not so much shortcomings are, but there is an element, like, because I have friends who are big, stars in comedy or whatever, and there's always that little party. It's like, fuck, why am I not playing arenas? And it's just sort of like, dude, could you imagine the weirdness of doing what you do in an arena? I do a joke about it. I say, like, I think I could play one arena centrally located in the country somewhere, and I could bus my fans in. Buses for Marin leaving out of Whole Foods parking lots in these cities.
That's so funny.
But so I do know who I am, and I do know one of the reason I am who I am has something to do with some fears, but maybe those are good. Maybe those are self-protecting,
Yeah.
So now the question is, what's day to day? Like, what do you want to do? Like, if you had your druthers, if it was like, hey man, and which you kind of do, what's the deal? Is it wake up?
I'd like to try to figure out how to enjoy myself. I mean, you guys seem
so what's the path to that? Are you going to learn how to? Are you going to paint? Or are you going to learn how to surf?
Well, look, I do a lot of things. I've been playing guitar with people. I'm playing. I get together and sometimes I do music shows. I've found the courage to sing in front of people, and that's sort of daunting and interesting. But what I really like to learn how to do, and I don't know how to do it. Like when I act, I think I do okay with it.
You do. You're great.
Well, that's nice.
You are good.
And I just did an indie feature where I'm the lead, and I kind of manned up and pulled that off. We'll see if it gets out anywhere. But
nice.
But there's this thing.
Wait, is that the one with Judy Greer?
She's in it, but Lily Gladstone's in it. Sharon Stone,
awesome.
Alan Ruck.
Awesome.
Michael McKean.
That's called In Memoriam?
Yeah, dude. It's funny. And I watched a final cut. And let me ask you this. 2 questions about acting since we're here. When you watch yourself, are you always sort of like, fuck. Like, why'd I could have, I mean, you can watch the whole movie, but some part of you is really focused on, like, why'd I do that with my eye?
I will say that the fact that you're doing that you're watching and you're you're being honest with yourself, and that will make you an incredible actor. I've learned so much from seeing how bad I am on things and adjusting for the next job.
But don't people say you're good though? Aren't they telling you that it's good?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
But
what
are we
they say.
right?
Yes, I'm saying you need to. I think you need to watch yourself. And there's so many talented actors that I work with that never watch themselves because they're afraid. They're afraid that they're bad. Yet they're so good. And I keep saying you're denying yourself like this great treat.
But Jason, I think that you have a unique ability. I really mean this, and I don't know if it's because you've been doing it since you were a little kid, so it's just so like ingrained into who you are. But you have a really good ability to separate and be objective. Mm-hmm. You really, really do. It's an honor. It's a great quality.
Yeah.
And so you're able to go and look at stuff, and now because you have that, because you direct, so your ability to be objective about your place in the story, understanding where you are, is, I think, unique. I don't think everybody has that.
I know. Just thinking about what Jason does, like with the directing and then with the act, like I'm getting anxiety thinking about his career. So, like, I can't even fucking wrap my brain around it. You know, like here's the question that is kind of eating at me. Is like, I was sitting with Judy at some junket for Stick because she's got a part in that too. Oh, wow. And she said to me, you know, the way you handled that character was very unique because most people would have went broad with it. And I said to her, I don't think I know how to go broad. And she goes, I don't think you do either. So some part of my brain is like, I got to figure out how to get broad. You know, how do I become a broad comic actor? I don't have it in me.
It's so funny. By the way, I was just thinking, I saw a video on social media this morning. Sean, I don't know who, I think the Play posted it, of you just playing piano.
Oh, yeah, I saw that
within the last couple of days.
Yeah, the Gershwin.
The Gershwin thing. And Sean's he's in London. He's about to do his show in the West End. Good Night, Oscar.
At the Tabasco or the
at the
barbecue.
At the barbecue. Sorry.
And you're Sean, and you're just sitting down. You're playing. You're not playing in front of anybody, and you just start playing. And honest to God, and not to embarrass you, I thought, this fucking guy is so fucking talented.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And I thought, like, I couldn't do that if you gave me a million tries.
You could.
And you know what I mean?
10 years.
And I'm just thinking, like, God damn it. Like, what am I doing? I'm fixing my bike in the garage.
I'm going to order a piano on Amazon right now.
I literally went to get a new wrench at the hardware store and then rode back.
And couldn't figure out how to use it.
And was trying to get to raise my handlebars. And I'm like,
for a half hour before you called the guy to fix it, right?
No, I did it. I got the scars. I did it wrong, and then my seat kept going down. Anyway, and Sean's there making beautiful art, and I was like, oh, God damn it, you know?
That's really nice. I think we all have gifts, and we're all lucky enough to be able to share them.
Yeah, it is pretty great, Mark. You know, like you whatever your innate talent is, you have found a lane for it, a platform for it,
right.
You know, a place to apply it, and doing such good for so many that listen to you. And I'm very happy for you that you are deciding to, you know, spend a little of that on yourself and reinvesting in, you know,
and leave on your terms. And I reject the idea. Just before I also reject the idea, and I know you say it because it's a kind of a funny one line, like, you know, that people you inspire that. People thought, well, if Mark can do it, I can do it. That's not true at all. I think the opposite is true. I think that you inspired people to.
Oh, that's nice.
It's true. And you grew this medium, and so that dum-dums like us could do it. It's
and
true.
That your tone and your quality and your honesty and your vulnerability it was a viable format.
I think the other thing I want to know is, like, because comedy. Look, I watched my new special and I like it. I have complete control of that craft, and it's the best work I've done. I know
that's great.
And with this thing, but with comedy and with podcasting, it's all driven improvisationally. It's all going to create itself in real time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with acting, that's different. So then all of a sudden you got a script and you make choices and all that stuff. But I don't know really where none of my imagination goes into creating fiction or creating things outside of myself. Everything I do is impulsive and comes from, you know, the need to connect. So I'm kind of curious, do I have creativity that is more disciplined that I can apply in another way? That's the big mystery. Can I apply my talents to something that isn't essentially
Yes.
Mark?
Have you ever sat down and written? Have you ever?
Yeah, I
other
write
than
every
writing
week. I
jokes?
do. I don't love writing. It's exhausting. But I write a thing every week, but reflections that are sort of poetic, and I put that out into the world. And I've done the writing, but my comedy is sort of formed on stage and in real time until it sort of sets, and then I leave room for new things to happen. For like I did the special, and I usually start with like an hour and 45 minutes that I tour with for a year and a half. And then, 3 weeks before I got to shoot, I got to get it down to like 70 minutes and figure out what the callbacks are. And then I leave a little open space for things to drop in the days before or even that night. So it keeps it alive. And, but I'm very confident in that craft. And I'm very confident in this talking on the mic thing. But like with acting, or I've set in motion I'm going to direct a film based on my buddy Sam Lipsyte's book, and hopefully that'll happen. But that's a little daunting and scary. But I guess I'm not afraid to take the chances.
It sounds like it's. Of course, you've got creativity. What are you talking about? You're doing it all.
Yeah. In answer to what I think your question is about the application of what you heretofore have been doing, which is basically freestyling, improvising. You are coming first, and then the words follow, right? That's you're writing for stand-up, you're freestyling on the microphone, your podcast. How do you apply that same level of accuracy, authenticity into something that is, by its own definition, pre-written, right? A movie, a script,
or outside of myself. Yeah.
How do you find that level of Marc Maron in acting? I will say that you are allowed, when you take on a character, to make that character simply just another part of who Marc Maron is. There are goalposts. You're far right, far left of who Marc Maron is, and then you just find whatever version that character is closest to you inside of those goalposts. So you're still being Marc Maron. It's just the words are written beforehand, and you got to find the version of you that fits those words. And so you're still kind of you're still exhibiting who you are. And should still be able to find some enjoyment from that.
I get that part where you kind of turn things off or turn things on within you. I get that with the acting. My question is, like, can I do something like if I direct, I don't have a vocabulary for that. I don't have a style. So that's completely outside of me, and I'm just going to have to figure out what that is. Could I?
You don't need to do that on the first one. Just exercise taste and just sit there and watch the results of other people's work and say yes to this, no to that, little more of this, little more of that. It is the one person on the set that doesn't have a job, so you don't really actually need to do anything. I'm not suggesting that's the right way to be a director, but I've worked with a million that work that way. It's very common. So you need not be overwhelmed with, I got to do a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So walk before you run, and just sit there and just be the arbiter of taste,
Right. Okay. Well, I will do that.
Yeah.
And
you can do that. You've got great taste.
Fuck, I've learned a lot from Jason today.
Yeah.
Listen, it's amazing. You got to be exhausted.
Who's this guy?
I'm starting my own podcast next week. I wanted to tell you guys about.
I'm listening to it. Are you kidding me? I can't wait. Holy shit. It took us 300 episodes to get through to you.
I've arrived.
Wait, if it wasn't for Mark, you know what I mean?
How about this? This is the first guest I've ever had that I didn't get to one single question.
Yeah.
And we're already 6 minutes over 1 hour. So that is a testament to you, Mr. Marc Maron, knowing the gift of gab, knowing what you're doing, keeping the conversation going.
Can I share one story, though, for Sean?
Please.
Yes, please.
So, wait, Sean, are you still here?
Yep.
There he is.
I took a bathroom break. I'm back.
Well, he talked about the doctor that did the full examination for the sore throat. I went into like one of my old guy physicals, I guess it was probably last year. And now for the prostate test, they only do the blood test. And like, so,
the finger's gone?
Right. Well, I didn't know that. So the guy said, I said, well, are we going to do the finger thing?
Not for me.
And then he goes, he says, no, we don't do that anymore. They do it with the blood. I'm like, well, is that effective? I mean, you find that the results? He's like, yeah, no, we just do the blood test. He says, I can do the other thing if you want. So I'm like, well, I would feel better.
$50 extra.
I would feel better if you did. So I requested a finger bang from the doctor.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he did that.
He did, and my diagnosis is it's not clear.
He needed to go back in.
You said go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and toss a ring on too before you get in there?
He said he'd like to see you again next week.
Yeah. He's here now.
Mark, you're a little bit of a hypochondriac though, like I am a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up with a doctor father, so it was a real way to get attention. Like, I think I have cancer, so
Right.
But yeah, I got a handle on it. It doesn't happen as much, and when it does happen, it runs pretty deep. Like, I can usually say, like, just wait a couple of days, it'll probably go away, that kind of stuff. But if I really lock into, I think I have cancer, I'll go all the way through it, and I'll sit in my bed and just sweat.
Oh man, me too.
Anticipating the nothingness.
That's called intelligence and being creative. The ability to sort of like create these scenarios in your brain that are.
That's how I use my imagination. Just all driven by panic and fear. I'd really like to free it up.
You know who doesn't have panic? Dummies.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of intelligence to like create this like fucking.
I know, but don't they seem
scenario.
a little more happier than we are when
They
they're not
do.
talking
Well, that's
about
blissful ignorance.
when they're not talking about QAnon?
But the happiness is not as profound. How about that?
That's
Okay,
right.
well, that's a projection, but hold on to it.
Mark, we love you and we thank
we sure
you.
do.
And,
Incredible.
I just
You're the greatest.
Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, and you guys are doing great.
Thank you, man.
Well, thank you. You please keep on jamming, and will you consider at least maybe doing a special once a year or something? Just to and I don't mean the incredible
Podcast?
specials on podcast. Come back with
that's the other thing.
WTF and give people updates.
Well, I have to figure out. Like, I think there's other ways.
Maybe it's the podcast version of the Letterman show. You know what I mean? Where he does like six a year
I could do that, but then you're kind of like, who's, my producer and I don't really do much without him, but I think there is a world where, I could at least, maybe after a little time off, get on the mic, once a week just to talk without people.
Yeah, there you go.
That might happen. I don't know.
We
Yeah.
want it. We need it. Please do it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks,
fellas.
Mark.
All right.
Thanks a
Best
lot,
of
you
luck
guys.
to you, my friend. Thanks for doing
Thanks,
this.
Mark.
Take care, you guys. Good luck with
Thanks,
the show,
Mark.
Sean. Break a leg.
Thank you, pal. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye, Mark. Boy, that Marc Maron. I mean, like,
man.
So Willie, Sean, unfortunately, you never did a show, but Willie, doesn't it sort of, you just sit there, you listen to him, and he just kind of rocks you into this place of like,
it's really,
oh, I just want to tell you everything about me.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
well,
he's just so
he's almost like a
charming and-
therapist.
Yeah, but without being solicitous, he's just
Right.
he just kind of goes first, and there's just like this nice quality.
Well,
to him.
he just starts talking, and you're just having a conversation. You forget that you're doing it, and all of a sudden you're telling him stuff that you haven't ever talked about in that way before.
Yeah, it's a really talk about gifts though. Like that's his gift is like, like it was very nice of you to say that, Willie, but like we all really do have gifts, and his gift is to just be able to constantly keep a conversation going, be interesting, never not be curious. He's always curious about every single person, and it's really an intelligent conversation. You get sucked in.
Yeah, I'm glad that at least he will always have his stand up to sort of just
I'm
be,
excited for his new stand-up special. That's going to be great.
Yeah. That is, he mentioned it earlier, but just to make sure, that's it's called Panicked, and it's going to be on HBO August 1st. And then it'll stream on the Max after that. But
Listen,
that's great.
I'm such a big fan of his.
Yeah, same here. He's always been such a good dude. And I figured, Sean, you mentioned the gifts, and he has that. And Jason, we talked about your gifts, and Sean, and you have your gifts, and I don't know.
What is
I wasn't given any gifts, but you know what? Hopefully, one day I'll be in a position where I'll be able to buy one.
That was pretty good. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
SmartLess.
SmartLess is 100% organic and artisanally handcrafted by Michael Grant Terry, Rob Armjarv, and Bennett Barbaco.
SmartLess.